we're having a discussion about which culture we like, when in reality, I'm having a discussion about the value of human life and wanting innocent people to live, whether they're Israelis or whether they're Muslims in some other Muslim country in the
You know
Middle East.
what? When I'm bored, I know the audience is bored.
Yeah,
So I'm going to cut it there because we've been
enough.
around that mulberry bush before.
Right.
So I don't want to go around it again.
Okay, you want to talk about husbands again?
Anything.
In today's video, Ana Kasparian destroys Bill Maher on the Bill Maher Podcast as their debate over politics, culture, and technology heats up instantly. Ana Kasparian pushes back with sharp, fact-based arguments that cut through Bill Maher's usual skepticism and outdated narratives. Whether they're talking about AI, inequality, or the Middle East, Ana Kasparian keeps grounding the conversation in real-world data while Bill Maher leans into his classic contrarian takes, making the clash even more intense. So let's dive in and watch how Ana Kasparian shuts down Bill Maher on the Bill Maher Podcast.
How about a little bit of ire directed toward Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the guy who facilitated the funding and has totally admitted to facilitating the funding of Hamas? Why did he prop up Hamas? Because he wanted to essentially discredit the PLO. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of whatabouts you can say.
But it's not a whataboutism. The very man who propped up Hamas is now saying that he needs to fight them.
I mean,
and now he's also funding Abu Shabab. Why are you funding Abu Shabab, who's also who has ties to ISIS?
These things are not wrong. It just looks like you're looking for something
to
make a false equivalency.
This is what I want. Look, I want Palestinians to live in their own territory. I want them to be able to govern themselves. I want Israelis to live in peace and safety.
Then stop attacking them.
I'm going to attack them as long as they're doing what they're currently doing.
They're doing in retaliation for being attacked. Of course it is. They've been attacked. They were encircled. Lebanon. Why are they in Lebanon? Because Hezbollah was attacking from there.
Right, in response to what they're doing in Gaza, yes.
Well, before that, they've had 4 wars there.
Was it when they were trying to annex land from southern Lebanon that they were attacking?
They were not trying to annex land. They were trying to put a border between the country that was continually attacking them. Mm-hmm. If we were being attacked from Canada, I imagine we would want a little border between Maine and Canada.
True.
I don't think you
really... But while
really...
building that border, we wouldn't then
I don't know
take
where,
a little bit of southern
TikTok
Canada
you're
for
getting
ourselves.
this information.
No, it's not TikTok. I'm very well
read
on this.
Okay.
Very well read on this. I care about this issue a lot.
I see.
I do, yeah.
Let me ask you one question, and then maybe we can get off it. Because otherwise, I just want to go. I want to go have dinner.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in this.
Yeah.
It's not really what I started a podcast for. You seem
I
to
know.
be itching to get to it, and now that you have, I'm not going to back down on it because
I don't want you to.
And I'm not Jewish, by the way.
Oh, I didn't accuse you of being Jewish, and then it wouldn't matter if you were.
No, but I'm saying I do this because I think it's the right thing, and because I feel like I know the history and the politics of it.
I respect your perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you had to live in the Middle East, so tomorrow, Anna, you got to go live in the Middle East. Where would you live? You can pick one city, any city. You can, as far away as, say, Pakistan. You could live in Karachi. You could live in Cairo. You could live in Amman, Jordan. You seem to love Lebanon. I mean, Beirut's nice when the bombing's not happening and the assassinations have stopped. Or you could live in Syria. I hear that's wonderful in the summer.
Well, we now have Al-Qaeda terrorists leading Syria.
Or the Houthis, I'm sure, would make room for you.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv, or the West Bank, Ramallah, I think is wonderful for a little, in the fall, it gets lovely. Where would you live? What city would you live in?
Well,
where do you think you'd be comfortable in that dress?
I'm sure it would not be comfortable in this dress in any of the various Middle Eastern countries that have been destabilized by
You're not
United States.
You're not really blaming it on Whitey.
Listen.
Are you? You're blaming Islam on Whitey?
I'm not blaming Islam on Whitey.
What you're saying is we destabilized. That's why you can't wear that dress.
Did we not destabilize?
Wait a second.
We were funding terrorist organizations in Syria during the Syrian Civil War, starting under the Obama administration.
That's why
did that not destabilize Syria?
No, what's destabilized?
There's a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist.
We're talking about your dress. Why?
It looks good. I know it looks
why,
good.
You're saying you can't wear that dress in Syria because of whitey destabilizing?
I didn't say that.
Okay, that's
You're
what
putting
it's
words in my mouth.
Okay, great.
But
that's
the
what
United
it
States
sounded
did
like.
destabilize various
But
Middle
I
Eastern
asked about
countries.
the
Are you going to
dress,
deny that?
I asked about the dress, and you went right to destabilize. So is that why you couldn't wear that dress? Why couldn't you wear that dress? Why couldn't you walk down?
You want me to talk about
Why-
jihadism and Islam, but like,
Why won't you?
Listen.
Why won't you?
I mean,
Why?
I don't believe in jihadism, which is why I'm furious.
Watching Ana Kasparian go head-to-head with Bill Maher here really highlights how differently they approach the Middle East. Bill keeps trying to funnel the conversation into a binary, where would you live? As if safety or women's rights in the region can be explained by cherry-picking one city over another. But Anna's frustration makes sense because the real issue isn't about picking a vacation spot. It's about political power, US involvement, and policies that have shaped the region for decades. Bill keeps brushing off destabilization, but the receipts are pretty clear. The US didn't just influence the Middle East, it fundamentally reshaped it. From propping up Saddam in the 80s to the Iraq War creating the power vacuum that birthed ISIS to arming opposition groups in Syria. These weren't small ripples. The Pentagon's own documents show how US weapons landed in the hands of extremist factions through failed vetting programs. That's not a fringe talking point. It's been reported by the New York Times and confirmed by CENTCOM investigations. And when Bill tries to turn the discussion into why can't you wear that dress in Syria, he completely sidesteps the fact that authoritarian crackdowns, civil wars, and extremist groups thrive because outside powers weakened state institutions. Even the CIA admitted that Cold War meddling played a significant role in shaping today's militant networks. Anna's broader point that the power dynamics in the region can't be reduced to stereotypes about Islam is just reality. If anything, the countries Bill lists are proof of how Western intervention mixed with local authoritarianism creates instability, not some inherent cultural flaw. Bill wants to debate vibes. Anna is speaking from documented history.
The United States just had a freaking Al-Qaeda terrorist in the White House.
It's not just jihadism that is preventing you from wearing that dress. Are you saying every Muslim is a jihad? I don't think they are.
Bill.
Okay, why can't you wear that dress?
Let's focus for a second.
No, you won't answer this question.
I'm not going to defend that religion, like that extremist religion at all.
Why can't you just say?
That's not what this discussion is about. This discussion is about
it's very much what it's about.
Ordinary, innocent human beings that I don't want to be slaughtered, regardless of what their religion is.
No one does. Then stop starting wars.
It's that simple.
Stop attacking Israel, it'll stop.
Okay.
But the fact that you can't answer that question, and you know that
I don't know what the question is. What's the question?
You keep doing that.
What's my question? What's your question?
Because you don't really want to hear it.
No, go ahead. I will give you space to speak. Go ahead.
Then you will let me.
Yeah.
Okay. The question is, if you could live anywhere,
right,
from North Africa all the way to, we left out Uzbekistan, you could live there, Kazakhstan, Saudi Arabia, Riyadh.
None of the above.
And,
none of them.
Or Tel Aviv.
None of them. Literally none of them.
But if you had to choose one, you would. So to you, Karachi, Pakistan, and Tel Aviv, same thing.
I would figure something out, but
that's powerful. Not as smart as I know you are. That's. Come on. You're going to get killed. You're going to get killed for that for good reason.
No, I don't.
Yes, you are, and for good reason.
Okay, Bill, I'm Armenian. I have literal family members who currently live in Iran. I have no love for the Iranian regime. Let me be clear about that. I don't want anyone.
Tehran. Would you like to live there?
Hold on. But let me just say something.
Tel Aviv, Tehran.
There is so much disinformation. Armenian Christians who are part of the Armenian diaspora as a result of the 1915 genocide against Armenians.
I know it.
They're living in Iran right now. They're going to church. They're being left alone by the Ayatollah, as awful as the Ayatollah is. So look, I'm not saying I would want to live in Iran. I don't want to live anywhere in the Middle East. I want to live here in the United States of America, the greatest freaking country in the world.
You're like a politician. You're avoiding
the
question.
No, I'm being as super honest as I can be.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
100%, I'm being honest with you.
No. Because the question is, if you had to pick a city, and you're not answering that question, you're doing what
I have no interest in any place in the Middle
politicians are
East.
doing and saying, I don't want to live in any of them. I want to live in America. That's not the question. The question is, if you had to pick, would you rather live in Tel Aviv? Because I promise you, you wouldn't last a week in the other places, and you could easily live in Tel Aviv. So if you don't think that speaks of a difference between cultures and civilizations, then okay, we'll leave it there. But I promise you it does. And if you had to actually do that, I think you would agree with me.
I think given my very harsh and vociferous criticisms of the Israeli government, I probably wouldn't feel so safe living in Tel Aviv right now under this government. Under this government.
First of all, they have free speech there, so it would not be an issue. But that is a side issue. We're not really talking about. We'll just say just a person, not you with your vociferous talking at, just a regular, a woman of your age.
I'm sure a woman of my age who grew up in the Western world would probably feel the most comfortable in Tel Aviv. I will concede that.
What stands out is how Bill Maher keeps trying to funnel everything into a cultural comparison, as if the entire Middle East can be summed up by where would you live? And honestly, that framing is way too shallow for a region shaped by global power struggles, colonial borders, and decades of Western intervention. Ana pushing back makes sense because the conversation isn't about which city has nicer nightlife. It's about the material conditions that shape people's lives. If Bill really wants to talk about why some countries in the region have strict social codes, it's impossible to ignore how the US, the UK, and France spent the last century propping up monarchies, funding coups, and backing extremist groups whenever it suited their geopolitical interests. Look at how the 1953 CIA-backed coup in Iran overthrew a democratic government and empowered the Shah's dictatorship, which opened the door to the Islamic Revolution decades later. Or consider how the US armed the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. Yes, that's the precursor network to Al-Qaeda because it was useful during the Cold War. These aren't fringe theories. They're documented in declassified CIA materials and Western academic research. Bill's argument ignores that repression doesn't appear in a vacuum. When you destabilize societies economically and politically, hardline factions gain power. You can't call that culture when foreign governments helped engineer the conditions. And when Bill tries to paint Tel Aviv as the only civilized option, he skips the fact that free speech is under major strain there right now. Israeli and international human rights groups have documented an uptick in arrests, censorship, and intimidation of dissidents during wartime. Ana isn't dodging. She's refusing to let the conversation be reduced to stereotypes instead of history.
Wow.
Okay. But we're having a discussion about which culture we like, when in reality, I'm having a discussion about the value of human life and wanting innocent people to live, whether they're Israelis or whether they're Muslims in some other Muslim country in the Middle East.
You know what? When I'm bored, I know the audience is bored.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cut it there because we've been
enough.
around that mulberry bush before.
Right.
So I don't want to go around it again.
Okay. You want to talk about husbands again?
Anything. Anything else.
Listen, and I am able to sit with people I disagree with.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. We disagree on this issue. I don't think that this issue alone is the makeup of who you are as a person. So I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah.
I think that we need to be able to have these kinds of discussions, as fiery as they are, because this is how we come to a solution or a conclusion. You need the tension. I think the tension is a good thing. At some point, this country lost the ability to sit with that tension because that's where we grow. That's where we learn, right? And so, you've brought up some thought-provoking things. I hope I've brought up some thought-provoking points. I doubt that was the case, but...
I will say this show, whatever the fuck this is, this happens, first of all, it's ironic because I started this because, I have a show about politics. I have a job. This was like, let's do something completely different where we don't have to talk about politics. And
but politics is everything.
Well, especially with someone who's political.
Right.
But even people who are sometimes not, because again, I said, if I'm going to do a podcast, it's going to be completely different than real time. Real time, a lot of preparation, this,
Yeah.
zero. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. I'm high and I'm having fun and I'm enjoying. So like, it does get like this. It got like this
Yeah.
with Laura, not to this degree with Laura, but like, it would always go back and forth. This one is the biggest challenge of
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
get
yeah.
back into a good mood.
I
Like
can do it.
You can do it.
Yeah.
I'm having the first time ever I'm having a little trouble.
No, Bill.
It's
come
okay.
on.
It's okay. It's just very frustrating.
Let's talk about the transes again.
the what?
That's what the conservatives say, the transes. The left turned on me. The first thing that the left turned on me over was I just kind of got sick of the lingo that was kind of being pushed on us and the way that,
Lingo.
yeah, like I don't have kids. I don't want to have kids. And I don't want to be called a birthing person. I find it super insulting. You know
Well,
what
you
I'm
never
saying?
will be.
And that doesn't mean I hate trans people or I want to take rights away from trans. It just means this is my preference. So
What really sticks out in this part of the exchange is how Bill Maher keeps trying to shrink a massive geopolitical issue into a simple which culture would you rather live in thought experiment. It's an argument that sounds strong until you actually look at how the modern Middle East became what it is. Ana pushing back makes sense because if you want to talk about safety, freedom, or women's rights, you can't pretend these countries developed in a vacuum. Take Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, virtually every one of them has been shaped by decades of foreign interference. Britain and France literally carved the borders of the region a century ago, and the US has backed everything from monarchies to militias depending on the decade. The 2003 Iraq invasion alone destabilized the entire region, collapsing institutions that protected minorities and opening space for extremist groups to take hold. That's not culture, that's geopolitics. And on the subject of women's rights, Bill's argument ignores that many Middle Eastern countries were far more progressive before Western-backed dictatorships and later the rise of militant factions reshaped the landscape. Iran in the 1960s and 70s had women in parliament, mandatory education for girls, and widespread urban modernization. Afghanistan in the 1970s had women in STEM fields and unveiled fashion magazines, long before the US-Soviet proxy wars empowered extremist movements. Ana's insistence on talking about human life instead of cultural stereotypes matters because the conversation shouldn't be about which cities Americans find comfortable, it should be about the policies, foreign interventions, and power structures that determine whether civilians live or die. She's not dodging. She's zooming out, which is exactly what this issue demands. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.